the one thing that I do like people to do before they come is to actually wax. I would say a good 48 hours prior to the actual tattoo. You can also acquire from the chemist a thing called Numbit, which will allow you to put it on very sensitive areas, but it really doesn't make that much difference. Okay, you're going to need alcohol wipes. You've got your non-latex gloves. You can pick these up at Amazon. That's a stencil machine, and it works pretty well. I always find, unfortunately, that I'm one of those people that considers that the most expensive is always the best. Entirely up to you. The other thing you're going to need, if you're practicing or when you're actually practicing before you get going, this particular faux pigskin is available online from a company called Real Skin. I'll put the links, all that, below in the description box. Real Skin allows you to get a really good practice, particularly in connection with the depth of your needles. Bear in mind that with any of these faux skin, what they're going to do is tend to splatter your ink first off. And that's why you need these, which are little cups. A lot of people utilize clear plastic cups because you can see what's going on with the water, but then you're working with so much plastic, I guess. Now, there's two forms of tatouage which you're going to need to know about. One is hand poke, or stick and poke it's called. And with stick and poke, let's backtrack. You can pick these up by the bag. These are little cups. You will need blue tack to be able to put the blue tack on the table, and once you've got it stuck on the table, you can actually stick the little cups on the blue tack. The other thing that's really most important that you're going to need, you can pick these up at the chemist, is a sharps disposal container, which when you're finished with, you take that to a hospital outlet and drop it off there. I've got quite medium-sized cups there. Some of these will come with your stencil machine, which are your stencils, and then you probably will need extras. So you've got your stencils, you've got your faux pigskin, more stencils, some of your design patterns, for example, and lots and lots of paper for when you screw up. And the other thing I like to have is lots of bits and pieces, and it might seem a bit overkill, but it is necessary when I'm working with someone that I love to make certain that everything is correct. So I will then pick up degradable pen machine covers. Mentioned your alcohol wipes, I'll mention them again. Oh, and of course there's stencils. Lots of stencils for circular material, etc. Rulers, blah, blah, blah. I might as well show you these. When you're doing stick and poke or hand poke, you really only need very, very small or very fine needles. You can get the wider ones now. You can get the shading needles for doing stick and poke as well. And what you need to do with these, excuse me, I'll put some gloves on. So you remove your needle with the stick and poke, and with that the easiest thing to do is attach that pretty carefully. You can pick this up again. This is self-adhesive tape. Love this stuff. And you want to go around your needle and the chopstick. And you can actually get very ornate if you do these all the time and you are working with Indigenous design in connection with your ancestral lineage. And you're asked to do that as an elder or as a practitioner with knowledge of ancestry. It's really important to beautify just about everything. That's easily torn off. So there's your stick and poke, and it may be a bit difficult to see. I'll get some images sorted out. That will be your hand poke or your stick and poke flick design. Okay, these by the multitudes, because even when you've just put the stencil onto the body part, if it's slightly out, you are going to need to remove it. That's your remover, which is really, really handy if you want to get the stencil off a body part. There's also your green soap, which you'll find if you look at Ben Fisher's videos, and again I'll put the link into the description box below. His work is just remarkable, and he is just a sublime teacher. The green soap is very, very cool for keeping the area clean as you're wiping off the ink. Now you're going to need a grease. I tend to use a papaya ointment, pawpaw ointment, rather than Vaseline. I don't like using petroleum-based products. So as you do each section of ink and you've stretched it, you just put a little of the pawpaw ointment onto that area before you ink into that area. And just keep going with that to make sure that it remains lubed the entire time that you're doing the actual work. Oh, that's super handy. That's your head torch. Really also maybe very, very worthwhile getting a pair of quite cheap but quite intense magnifying glasses from a chemist so that you can get in close with your work. No matter how good your eyesight is, if you're doing fine work and very small areas, you're going to need super, super good eyesight. So this is the gem. It'll come in two sections. You will have to charge it up. Hang on. I'll put on a bib. There you go. Shit, eh? Right. That's the back area. The back area has got a timing on it, and you also have different degrees of speed. You put them together. I like again to wrap around the handle section where I'm going to work, because it's like a pen, and then you're going to put your cartridges in there. So the cartridges will come in many, many different sizes. And again, go on to Ben Fisher's site and have a look at that. What have I got here? So these cartridges, they're for shading, they're for extra large, and then I will also get the fine single rounded needles in triples, which I use these a lot. They're quite fine, so they're the 1203 RL are really, really cool for doing your outlines and for all the fine design necessary. And you'll attach them, they just click in the end. I'll do one so you know what it sounds like. Everything in my box tends to remain extremely neat. So I'm a little on the OCD side. And these will just click in. And you'll work this particular central area here with the light to get the actual distance of your needle at the end. And once you're happy with the distance, it's going to, that's quite fast. I've got that on full speed. If you click it once, it'll take it down to the single, twice. You get the third speed, you get your fourth speed, and you get your fifth speed. I tend to use the fourth speed. And when you finish with the actual needle itself, you simply unclick it and drop it in your sharps container. It has a cable with it that'll just plug into your laptop for charging purposes. So the inks, put this away. The inks here, you've got your dynamic 80 grey wash, which is going to be really handy for just doing specifically your shading, and then your black, I think mine's been used in here somewhere, it's probably buried alive. I have a large container of black, it's Sumo black, and again I can put links below. Oh, here it is. The Harajuku Sumo Black is probably your best ink. Make sure you shake everything well. Then you'll be utilizing your dynamic 80 grey wash for doing the shading. Now you do not necessarily need the dynamic grey wash, because if you have 4 of the little cups lined up and you put degrees of 1 full cup, half cup, 3/4 cup, or even just a 1/4 cup of the ink, and you add purified water into that, that's also going to give you your grey wash environments. The needles for doing grey wash, they're pretty thick on the ends. Again, I'll take photographs of these up close. Once you've completed the job, you're going to need to wash it off completely. That's where the green soap comes in. Make sure it's super dry. The panthen that I use is specifically for tattoo, because the heavier one, I usually use Savlon, but the panthen for tatouage or tattoo is absolutely excellent. It's not so claggy, but it's going to stop the tattoo from scabbing up too quickly. So if it scabs up too quickly, it's likely to end up blotchy when you're done. Several different colour inks, reds, and it's a beautiful selection we can get nowadays, in difference to the old days when I was first inked, when you pretty much just had your basic ridiculous colours, really, retrospectively. Oh, there's the great gold blue tack, and you will need a couple of extra bottles just for squirting and again picking them up. You don't need to pick them up from Melbourne Tattoo Supplies, but it's just so handy to do a big shop there, and be careful. And use variations of each of these colours. They're fantastic. Some of them are browns and teals and deep greens and turquoise, etc. I've got, can't even see it. Can't see a fucking thing. That's an aftercare spray. This one here is a product that's called Numbing Tattoo Glide. Really, really handy. This is really, really cool. Also, if you don't get the papaya or the pawpaw ointment, the Numbing Tattoo Glide can work very, very well indeed. Quite often at the end of a session, you will need to wrap the piece. Now, I find the aftercare really important is to wash the affected area very gently, usually up to 3 times a day. I'll do it. And each time that I do that, I'll of course put the panthen on after. Once you just bear in mind also, when you're working with someone for the first time, you will need to tell them that their sheets are going to get zapped about night 2 and night 3, and perhaps if they're getting neck ink, their pillowcases as well. So they need to have some second-hand stuff that they can probably dispose of easily. Very heavy black work or very heavy line work, this black work that I've got here, it's healed in 3 days. It's quite quick. The modern tattooists are not heavy. They don't dig that needle in. Besides, if you dig the needle in too deeply, and this is where the experimentation with the faux pigskin is very important. If you dig the needle in too deeply, you're going to blow out. You don't want to blow out. just need to study enough YouTube tutorials to show you the depth and the epidermis and what's happening with the actual skin itself. Because if you go too deep, you're gonna make a mess, and people are gonna hate you. And if you do it on your own body, you're just going to be sad at the end of it. So preparation is important. The waxing of the area is important, or the shaving of the area is important. The preparation of the area is important. The quality of the products that you utilize is super, super important. Your ability to dispose cleanly and clearly with the artifacts afterwards, the needles that you have used, most important. And then the aftercare, which is associated with twice or 3 times daily washing, depending on, I suppose, more than anything else, whether you've got heavy work or whether you've just got a lot of line work. The line work is just, it's just going to heal. It's just really easy. And that's it. And I'm going to do a second piece right now in a moment, associated with my knowledge of how important this is as a family or an Indigenous familial identification, and focus on what we have had denied to us for probably thousands of years, but particularly since the Roman invasions of the Brittany lands and territories, because it was banned. And even until fairly recently, as funny as it might seem, there was an archaic English law that says it's illegal to tattoo the face and the hands, because it's illegal to deface the property of the crown.